Alright guys, so I'm going to show you how to set up the Express app now. So we're going to just create a new directory called, let's just call this backend. We're going to run npm init-y to get the package.json file, and we're going to install a bunch of different dependencies. So we're going to install Express, and we'll just install that for now. And let's set up the Express app. That's the main point of this video. Create a source folder, create the app.js file, and we're going to do const, let's see, Express, it does require Express. So we're going to import Express, and we're going to create the app by invoking the function, because Express itself is actually the function when you require it. Okay, this allows you to actually use the Express API, so app.get, okay, we can do a bunch of different things now. I'm going to set up the port, so actually let me install .env, because we are going to be using this for environment variables, so I will create a .env file over here. And I'll do port, we'll set it to 3001. I'm going to later on need the client ID, so I'm just going to call this dashboard client ID, dashboard client secret, and then dashboard callback your URI or URL. So this is all going to be stuff that we're going to get from the Discord application, so we'll worry about that later. Okay, so now I'm going to do const port equals process.env.port, and if port 3001 is not available, then we will just use port 3002. And now we can do app.listen, we'll listen to port, and then we will say console.log running on port. Okay. Alright, there we go. So I'm not really going to explain everything in Express. I do have a tutorial that does go over the basics of Express, but I will explain the more complicated stuff such as the authentication when we actually get to it. But the basics such as setting up an Express project, I have tutorials on that, so feel free to check it on my channel. So if I go ahead and run this app, I'm going to go ahead and set up a couple of scripts. So we'll set up a dev script. We're just going to use node mod. You don't have to do this. I'm just doing it to make it easier to run our app. Okay. And let me go ahead and do this. npm run dev. It's actually not going to work. Well, it's going to run on port 3002 or... Wait. What's going on? Oh, sorry. It's... I forgot. It's /source app.js because we're inside the source folder. Okay, so npm run dev. Alright, so it's on port 2002, and the reason why it's not running on port 2001, it's ignored the environment variable, is because we did not import, because we didn't import .env, so we need to call this function. There you go, that's on port 2001. Okay, so it's important that you import .env. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to set up a couple of routes. Okay, so we're going to go inside over here, we're going to set up routes, and I'm going to do two things. I'm going to create an index.js file, and I'm going to go ahead and create the auth.js file. So auth.js is going to be a file that's going to take care of handling all the routes that have to do with authentication. So for example, logging the user in, getting the user's credentials or details, not credentials, details, and etc. So I'm going to go ahead and import Express, and I'm going to reference express.router, just like that. So we actually get the router, okay? And we're going to export the router, and then inside index.js we're going to register this auth.js route, and then inside app.js we're going to register all the routes that are registered inside index.js. I know it might be a little bit confusing, but bear with me, I'll explain why we're doing this. So let's first start off with router.get. We're going to set up the /discord/ I think that's it, yeah, /discord. Okay, and we're actually going to need passport, but we'll worry about that later. I'm going to set up a simple route for now. We'll just do /rec.res. We'll do res.send 200, just for demonstration purposes. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to import router, but this time, instead of handling any routes, what we're going to do is we're going to do router.use. And for this auth route, I want the prefix of this route to be auth. Okay, and instead of doing this, we also need to import the route, so we're going to import auth, just like that. And then so this route is going to be registered with this router over here that's being imported from auth.js. Okay, and now in app.js, what we want to do is we want to import index.js from routes. So since index.js is the base name, we don't need to specify index. We can just do require /routes, and it'll automatically look for index.js. That's just how it works. So now if I do router, or not router, sorry, it's app.use, and we're going to prefix all of our routes with /API. Okay. Now, one reason why I want to do this is because it actually makes it a lot easier when you deploy. You have the base API URL, and a lot of APIs actually do this. So I highly recommend you do this and follow the structure because it's much more cleaner. Because if you don't, you're going to have a bunch of different app.uses. So you have to do app.use auth, and then blah, 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 pass that in there, app.use/discord, and then you have to pass in the route over there. And it just takes up a lot of lines of code in your entry point of your app, and we want to keep it as clean as possible. Okay, so watch this. I'm going to go ahead and save, and now we're going to visit. So in order to actually hit this endpoint, we need to go to /API/auth. Okay, because this is the main URL of /auth. So if I do /API/auth, see how it says okay. If I try to do just /auth, it's not going to work. Okay, let me go ahead and just create one more route just to show you guys how this really works. So we're going to set up a Discord route. So the same thing, I'm going to do router.use/discord, and we're going to import the Discord route later, right now. Discord require Discord. Okay, so now I can just modify this index.js all I want. It's abstracted away, and by default and automatically, because we are importing all these routes over here, it's going to be registered for us. So if I do /API/discord, see how it says okay? Works perfectly. Message Discord. Save that. Send. There we go. So hopefully that isn't too confusing. Okay, but now the next part that we need to do is we need to set up Passport. Okay, so we need to set up Passport. So we're going to go ahead and install Passport. We're going to install two things, Passport and Passport Discord, or actually three, and we'll install Mongoose. Okay, so we've just installed all of our dependencies over there. And what we're going to do is we're going to first import Passport. Okay, and all we're going to do, all we're going to do is we're going to simply just do this. So this is going to be, the route is going to be /API/auth/discord. And we're going to do passport.authenticate. We have to pass in the strategy. The strategy is going to be Discord. Okay, and that should be it. Okay, we don't need the callback function, the request handler function. We don't need that. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do another route, Discord redirect. This is going to be the callback URL that we're going to specify later. And we also need to do the same thing, passport.authenticate, Discord. But this one is going to need the request handler function. This is going to send a response back once we've been authenticated, or if we fail to. Okay, so now that we've done this, we have linked up Passport with this auth.js file. The next thing that we need to do is we need to actually create the Discord strategy. Okay, and that's where we're going to be using passport-discord. So we're going to go inside the source folder, and I'm going to create a folder called strategies. I'm just going to create a file called discord.js. And we're going to go ahead and import Passport. And then import Discord strategy. Well, we're going to call this Discord strategy, but we're going to import passport-discord. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to say passport.use. And this is basically just going to take in an instance of Discord strategy. So you can create an instance of it. And then inside the constructor of the instance, we're going to pass in an object first. And we're basically going to go ahead and pass in all of our properties that we need. So we need the client ID. So that's going to be picked up from over here. So let me actually go ahead and grab that real quick. So I'm going to grab the client ID. I'm going to grab the secret. So the secret is very sensitive, so you need to make sure you do not share this with anyone. And we're going to need the callback URL. So the callback URL is going to be this route that we set up over here. So the full route is going to be /auth/, oh no, sorry, it's /API/auth Discord redirect. And you want to make sure on the actual developer portal that you have the redirect URL set up over here. Otherwise, it's not going to work. You can see that I already have it already, conveniently, so that's good. Okay, so that should be it. So let me just copy all of the environment variables. So process.env, there we go. Client secret process.env, and then we're going to do dashboard client secret. Okay, and then callback URL process.env, just like that. Okay, and that's pretty much it. And obviously, you want to make sure that when you import this file into app.js, you want to import it after you have called the .env.config function. Otherwise, these will be null. Okay, but that's pretty much it. And we need to also, oops, forgot the scope. So the scope, this is going to allow you to get certain data. So if we want the email, we would pass an email. If we want their profile, we'd pass an identify. If we want their guilds, we would just pass in guilds, and etc. Okay, I'm just going to do identify and guilds because we obviously need the user's guilds. Okay, all right, so after we do this, we need to pass in a callback function, or a function as the second parameter. So this is going to be an async function, and it's going to take in 4 parameters: access token, refresh token, profile, and then done. So done is actually a callback function. Access and refresh token are both sensitive data that is given to you. You can use it, you don't have to use it, but I would recommend that you should use it to get updated data over time, so you don't have to reauthorize every single time. And profile is just the user's profile, such as the username, their email. If you pass it into the scope, it also shows the guilds and their discriminator and everything, their avatar as well. So I'm just going to go ahead and do console log hello world. Okay, and what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and import this strategy. So I'll actually just import this up here. Strategies, Discord. Okay, and next thing I'm going to do is I need to actually import passport. So const passport equals require passport. And the next thing we're going to do is we are going to set up passport. So we're going to have to do app.use passport.initialize, and then app.use passport.session. Okay, and later on we're going to install a session as well, but we'll do that later. But let's actually run the application now, and let's see what happens when we actually visit this /auth/discord URL. So we're going to go over to localhost port 8000 /API/auth discord. Notice how it takes us to the redirect URL. Okay, we're going to click on authorize, and notice how nothing's happening. The reason why nothing's happening is because we're actually inside this function over here, but we need to invoke the done function. Okay, so it does log hello world, so we actually did already authorize ourselves. So if I were to log profile, it would get all of our data. Okay, however, we need to actually do a couple things here. We need to actually save the user to the database if this is their first time authenticating, and if they're a recurring user, then we need to find them from the database. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and set up a couple of schemas. Well, we're only going to set up one schema, so I'll just do schemas right here, and let's do user.js. So we're going to import mongoose from mongoose. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and do const user schema equals new mongoose.schema, and we're going to go ahead and get all of the properties we need. So we're going to need the Discord ID. So the type is going to just be a string, and we're going to do required as true, and we should also make this unique as well. Okay, we're also going to need their discriminator. You don't need this stuff, but I would recommend saving it. So the discriminator as well as the username, it changes over time, like they can change it. So you would need to make sure that when they re-authenticate, you update it every single time. So let's do username first. So type string, required true, unique, or yeah, that should be it. And then discriminator type, I'm actually going to do this instead. I'm going to do Discord tag instead. But We can also save their avatar as well. So avatar URL, or that's just a hash actually. Okay, and what else do we need? The guilds. So this is going to be an array. True, and I'm trying to think if there's anything else that we need. I don't believe so. I think that should be it. If I think of anything, I will come back to this. So now the next thing we have to do is compile our schema down into a model. So we're going to use mongoose.model, pass in the name of the collection for our MongoDB database and the schema itself. Okay, and that should be it. So now we're going to import a user from the schema folder, so database schemas. And what we're going to do is first, let me just get some data real quick. So we need to get the ID, we need to get the username, discriminator, avatar, and then guilds. We're going to get that from profile. So I'm going to go ahead and just console log all this stuff just to show you what it looks like. Avatar, and then guilds. Okay, so let's go ahead and re-authenticate. What's going on over here? I cannot find module. I may have done something wrong. Let's see. Oh, whoops. User. Forgot about that. Sorry about that. Okay, there we go. So you can see that we have all of our guilds. Okay, if I scroll up, you can see that I have my Discord ID. Okay, I have my Discord username, my discriminator, and the hash of my icon, my avatar. And you can see we have all of the data of the guilds, and that's pretty much it. That's really all it is that's really all it is for this. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to search the database, so const find user, and we're going to await this because it's going to return a promise. So user.find one, and we want to find it based off of the Discord ID. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just do Discord ID, and we're going to pass that with ID. Okay, so we're going to find one. Actually, we're going to do find one and update. And what we're going to actually update, well, there's a couple of properties that we need to update. We're going to update the username, the discriminator, as well as the guilds and the avatar, because those things can change. Okay, the user can actually change those things. I'm sorry, not the discriminator and username, the Discord tag. Okay, so we're going to do user or Discord tag. That's going to be username hashtag discriminator. Whoops, discriminator. Okay, the avatar and the guilds. There we go. And that's all that's going to be updated. Okay, and so if this returns true, so if the user is found, then it will actually update it. If it was not found, then we're going to create it. So if find user, we can simply just say console.log user was found, and then what we can do is we can return done. So there was no error, and we're gonna basically pass in the user that was found. One thing that I will mention is that this won't actually return the updated user. If you want to return the updated user, you can pass in a third object, and there's a property called new. You can set that to true, and that'll return the updated user. Okay, so if the user was not found now, we're gonna have to create it. So we're gonna do const new user equals await user.create. And we're going to pass in all the fields that are required. So all the fields that are required are, let's see, Discord ID. So Discord ID. So that's going to just be ID, Discord tag. So that's going to be the same thing over here. We're going to use template strings for that. And then we're going to save the avatar and the guilds. The reason why I don't have colons after avatar is because in ES6 you can actually do a shorthand. So because since the property is the same name as the variable that holds the value, you can actually just omit that part and it'll work the same way. So this is just short for avatar colon avatar, just in case people didn't know that. Okay, so this will create the new user, and I think that should be it. So we're just going to do return. So there was no error, so we're going to pass in null for the first parameter, and we want to pass in the new user that was created. Okay, and we're actually going to go ahead and wrap all this inside a try catch. In case there is any error, we will log it, and then we will pass the error, and then null for the user. Okay, all right. So I know this is a lot, but bear with me. We're going to go through this one by one. Okay. However, the next thing that we actually need to do is we need to set up the deserialize and serialize user functions. Okay, so these functions are important because with every request that you make to the backend, they take care of taking the session ID and checking to see if that session ID is valid, and then getting the actual user that belongs to that session ID and then serializing it with the request. Okay, so you don't have to worry so much about these. You just need to understand what I'm about to do. So with the serialized user, this part is going to take in just two parameters. It's going to take in user and it's going to take in done. Okay, and what we want to basically do is we want to just call done, and we just want to pass in null for the actual error, because there is no error. And then for the user, we want to pass in the Discord ID, and after that we're going to call deserialize user, and this is going to take in another function. So this is going to take in the Discord ID, and it's going to take in the callback function. The reason why this is async is because what deserialize user needs to do is it needs to take the Discord ID, and it needs to search the database for the actual user object. Okay, so we're going to do a try catch. So const user equals await user.find1 Discord ID. Okay, and then we're going to simply do this, return user. So if the user was found, we are going to return done null user. And if the user was not found, we will just do null and null. Okay? Now if an error happens, we'll do the same thing, done error null. Okay, and we'll console log the error just in case. Okay, so these two functions are required for serializing and deserializing every single request that is being made, so that way we can actually know who's making those requests. Okay, so that's really pretty much it. So now let's actually try this out and hope everything works just fine. So assuming there's no errors, we're going to authorize. Yeah, so we actually forgot to connect to the database, I think. So let me actually get rid of this. So we're going to basically go inside app.js, and we're going to go and import Mongoose. Okay, so if you saw the last video, which I recommend you go watch it, you saw that we actually connected to a database called DJS Dashboard. We're going to share the same database with the Discord bot. So I'm going to go over here, mongoose.connect, MongoDB localhost, and then DJS Dashboard, and then use new URL parser true, use unified topology true. Okay, so let's try this again, because this should work without any doubt. I don't think we actually need to set up sessions immediately for this to work. Okay, there we go. It says passport.initialize is not in use, so I gotta go fix that real quick. Not sure why it's saying that, because we did actually set that up. Oh, because we did that right underneath this one. We need to do it right before. Okay, there we go. Okay, see how that works? And you see how it says okay. Alright, so it worked perfectly. So I'm gonna go inside my database and let me visit database. So what is it? DJ's dashboard. Refresh. See how I have users now. Okay, and you can see that it has all of my guilds that I'm in. You can see it has my Discord ID and my Discord tag. Okay, so that's pretty much it when it comes to authenticating. The next thing that we need to do is we actually need to set up sessions as well as a session store. That way it can persist our session, so we don't have to relog into the application every single time we visit it. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that by simply, well, first let's install a couple dependencies. So we're going to install express session and then connect Mongo. Okay, because right now if I stop the server and I rerun it again, our session is going to not exist. We're not going to be logged in again. We have to relog in. Okay, if you look right over here, and if I open up the dev tools, you can see that we actually don't have any cookies right over here. So that way, when we send requests, it's not going to know if we're logged in or not. Cookies allow us to persist the state of every single request. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and import session from express session. So let's set this part up first. So let's do app.use session. We're going to do secret. We'll just call this secret for now. But you obviously want to keep this part secret because this is what's being used to encrypt the cookie and decrypt the cookie. So you want to make sure no one knows this secret. we're gonna go ahead and do cookie max age. So we'll do, let's see, I think that's what, that should be 1 day, I think, right? So it should be 1 minute times 60, or sorry, that's 1 minute times 60. So that's 1 hour times 24. So that should be 1 whole day. We're gonna also do resave, so that's the false, and then save uninitialized false, and then store. So this is where we're going to import connect Mongo. So const store equals require connect Mongo. And the connect Mongo is a session store that's used to store session data. So like I said, if our server goes down, the session store is going to be responsible for keeping all of our sessions. So when we start up the application, all of those sessions are going to be saved in memory. Okay, it's going to basically reinitialize all of these sessions. So we're going to do new store, then we can reuse, or I think I did this wrong. No, I did it right. Oh wait, sorry, we need to pass in session right over here. So new store, and then we can reuse the connection by passing in the mongoose connection property, and then we can reference mongoose.connection, just like that. Okay, so now if you actually look over here, whoops, let's go over here. If I refresh, and if I let me relog in. Okay, let's relog in. You're gonna notice that let's see what's going on. Oh, we haven't started up our app yet. Let's start our app. Okay, so there we go. You can see that we actually have a cookie now. So if you look at this cookie right over here, okay, you can see that when does it expire? It expires 7:25. So this is actually in UTC time. So it's actually supposed to expire at 11:24 p.m. Okay, so it's pretty much 1 day from now. Okay, and if I go and refresh this database, you can see we have sessions, and you can see that I have my ID, everything over here. Okay, so that's pretty much it for authenticating, right? We've already authenticated, and to top it all off, let me do one more thing. We're gonna go ahead and do router.get, and whenever people visit this endpoint, we're going to send their details. So we'll do res.send rec. So when you use Passport, it's actually going to attach the user object to the request object, which is pretty nice. So we're going to do res.send. So now let me actually visit this URL now, and you can see that it's going to send all of my guilds. It's going to send all of the data from the database. Okay, just like that. And that's how we know we're authenticated. Okay, now if we weren't authenticated, it's actually going to throw an error. So I can show you in Postman. We don't have our cookies in Postman. You can see that it actually sends a 200 OK, but it's actually not even sending us anything. But it sends us a successful status. But because we're not logged in Postman, it sends us nothing. So we can actually fix that by simply doing something like if rec.user. So if rec.user, we can send the user, and if it doesn't exist, we'll just say res.status 401 unauthorized. Okay, so now I'm gonna go over here, unauthorized, refresh, there we go. Now if I go ahead and clear my cookies, so now if I make this request, our cookies are not going to be sent because we don't have any. So the server recognizes that there are no cookies sent, or the cookie was invalid. So you can see it says unauthorized, and if we want to reauthorize, we can do so by simply visiting this route, click authorize, and there you go. So if I go here, we are not authorized. So hopefully all of this makes sense. I know it's a lot, but hopefully all this makes sense. Okay, and I think that should be it in terms of our Express application, in terms of setting it up. So in the next video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys how to connect the React application with the backend API. Okay, and then in the future video, I'm going to show you how to make the API request to update all of the different fields in our database. So changing the prefix, adding the default role whenever user joins, setting up the logging for deleted messages or user joining, all that kind of stuff. So hopefully this whole video made sense. I know we did a lot, okay? But if you were able to go through with all this, then that's great. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to join the Discord server. I know this might be very complicated for a lot of people, but I want to make it as easy as possible. So I'll be more than happy to answer any questions if you join the Discord server or just leave a comment down below. Okay, so I will see you guys in my next video. Peace.